Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up? What's up?
So, I just realized, I always do the podcast with my headphone, my hoodie over my headphones. My headphones over my hoodie, I should say. And, I was I put my headset on and I'm talking. And I'm why is everything so loud? That would be
no
why.
hoodie.
That would be why. Anyway, welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we have the Thursday night preview. I think this is the last Thursday night football game of the season because next week's week 17. There might be some Saturday games that we can talk about next week, and then week 18 to end the season. I don't know. Is this really the last Thursday night football game?
It might be.
But we're going to talk about this for week 16, give you a little bit of a preview of the game, and tell you what you need to do for your fantasy matchups. Pretty good game, too. So we'll do that. Before we do, check out our website, fantasyjammies.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and comment down below any questions you might have. We are doing the Thursday night preview show tonight. This show is pre-recorded on Monday, so I'm still watching the Raiders play the Browns. They just went for it on fourth down. Running out of time here. Got a lot of fantasy guys in this matchup. I should have traded the Raiders I have. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I think my season's gonna be over. I'm going to join you, Rick. I'm going to join you on the couch watching the home league.
Let's go. We'll watch our leagues where we can make money in anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And cry because we don't even care about $100 extra.
Well, speak for yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway.
There you go.
So let's jump into the Thursday night preview show. I haven't gotten there because Rick's ahead of me on this stupid game. But
he's hurt. Let's go.
On the Thursday night preview show, we're going to talk about the Titans who are at home and the 49ers who are on the road.
I feel bad for cheering for injuries because
who's hurt?
Jacobs. But I don't know if he's hurt. He just got up slow and then went to the sideline. But it was after he made a catch for 15 yards, so you got a 1.5 from it.
Wouldn't that be 2 points and half?
Oh yeah, 2 points. Yeah, 2 points. You get 2 points from it.
Oh my god, I might lose my mind. Anyway, we'll talk about the Titans and the 49ers. This is a really good game. Not just for NFL, and not just for fantasy, but. Well, not really for fantasy, but for real life, it depends
on who plays, but it could be good for fantasy.
Yeah, it could be fantastic for fantasy. So let's jump into the home team first, which is the Tennessee Titans. And we'll talk about Ryan Tannehill as the starting quarterback. I believe we went into this guy on the waiver wire show. But Rick, what are your thoughts on Tannehill this week going up against the 49ers and how you feel about starting him?
He really blows. I'm not trying to start him in most leagues. Unfortunately, I'm in this league where I think I have a very good chance of winning the championship. I have my receivers. I have Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, pretty good receiver group, Austin Eckler, Russell Wilson in a super flex league, Tyler Lockett. Pretty good team. Don't really have any weaknesses. My QB2 though is Ryan Tannehill. And it really stinks because I think he blows. That's the only reason that I would consider starting him. You're in a super flex league,
right? But
at this point, he's kind of just a QB2. He's probably somewhere in the 20 range for quarterbacks. And you're not really starting him in one QB leagues, but in two quarterback leagues, I guess you kind of have to. Against San Francisco, that feels like a tough matchup. Is it? I want to say it is. No, it's not. Okay.
I'm gonna reload this. I think lately they've improved, but on the season they have not been.
Yeah.
I'll see. Hold on a second. I'm pulling this up.
I know they have a great pass rush.
They've given up
their
19.3 points per game to the quarterback position.
Oh, so I guess that's good.
Well, hold on.
So maybe there's hope, and I think if the receivers are playing,
I think I looked that up.
If Julio ends up playing and AJ Brown ends up playing, then Tannehill could have some fantasy value, but I still don't want to play him in one quarterback leagues.
Yeah, I'm not excited about him in one quarterback leagues. I think that would be a big mistake. There was a decision I was trying to make this week: Jalen Hurts or Taysom Hill, and I went against Taysom Hill, and he ended up with 9 points. So if you're trying to make that decision, you're like, oh, should I start Tannehill? No, don't start him. That would be a very bad idea. Let's talk about some of the wide receiver situations that we have for the Tennessee Titans, though. Nick Westbrook, just whether or not AJ Brown, Julio play in this game, Nick Westbrook, Klein, are you interested?
Not really.
No, me neither. All right.
If both those guys do not play, though,
maybe.
Then maybe, yeah.
Okay.
But if even one of them plays, though.
So an update on AJ Brown. He has been activated from the IR, and the expectation is that he'll play, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. And that sucks because you wanted to get him back for the fantasy playoffs. Then you're kind of in a really bad position at this point. Because you only have him for the fantasy championship if you make it that far. So that is a really tough scenario if you're looking at, playing AJ Brown. But it's just because the Thursday night football game is so close, and it's like he has had 3 weeks off. But do you think he's gonna go in this game?
It's tough to say. I mean, it's just because it's Thursday night. If I had to guess, though, it feels like
he would.
He's leaning in the direction where he's going to play. Yeah.
Okay. So if he plays, see, normally I'd be like, just saddle him up and go because I love AJ Brown. But Tennessee just is so bad without
they really are
without Derrick Henry running in the backfield. Like they're like, run on us. We don't give a frick.
Yep. It's AJ Brown. I'm still starting him.
Okay.
It's gross.
Yeah.
But I think you still have to.
I'm interested to see what the consensus rank on him is on Fantasy Pros next week if he does play. But he's just he's an explosive receiver. So like I would play him too, just on the sheer fact that he might not get 5 targets in the game, but he could get 1 catch for 70 yards and a touchdown. Yep. And that's all it takes for AJ Brown sometimes. So, I would play him in this game. It sounds like he's coming back, which is good news. Against the 49ers, it could be a decent matchup. Not one that I'm like uber concerned about because they haven't been great against wide receivers all year. The other guy on the opposite side is Julio Jones, and he has been just for most, which is kind of what we predicted, a massive disappointment.
Yep.
On the season, he just hasn't been good. Did he even play?
He played
against Pittsburgh,
and he played the first quarter and a half. So I think he got hurt at some point in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. But even when he was out there, he was not involved at all. He had 1 target, did not get a catch. Mm-hmm. Probably would have finished the game with like 3 or 4 fantasy points.
Yeah.
He's just not worth it starting rest of the season. Doesn't matter if he's healthy. Mm-hmm. I'm not starting him in any league.
Okay. That sounds fine with me. I don't think he's going to play this week, though, even if you have him.
I don't think he is either. Yeah.
So there's the wide receiver position for the Tennessee Titans. Any more thoughts on those big boy wide receivers?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So let's talk about the running back position. Foreman suffered. He's been dealing with an ankle injury, and he suffered a little bit. Like 2 times in the game, he came off the field. And the first time they taped up the ankle, second time I didn't think he was coming back, and he got like really hurt. But Foreman has been their guy, and he's actually looked pretty good. I just don't know what the injury is going to look like moving forward because he even had against Pittsburgh this week 22 carries, 108 yards, 2 catches, 27 yards. What was that? 14 fantasy points on 39% of the snaps. and he came out and they put Hilliard in that game. So I mean, I like Foreman, and the schedule is easy against San Fran for the most part. So I think it could be a really, really good matchup for Donta Foreman to come into this game and have a really good game, at least one where you can get like 13, 14 fantasy points.
Yep.
But I'm not excited. I'm not like running in and going, okay, this guy's definitely going to take over and be 25, 30 points. You know what I mean? Like you're expecting him to get like 10 to 15, maybe.
You might want to watch that last play, by the way. So yeah, I think Foreman, he's a good start. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a must start, but he's had 13, 14 last 2 weeks against San Francisco. He's probably going to do around the same thing. He's been getting a good amount of touches.
You couldn't have scored.
Did not score, but it was a 24-yard run. Come on.
Okay. Don't tell me anything else.
He
unless it's watch that last play.
Yeah. He's been good though. Against San Francisco, it's not a bad matchup, like you said, and the touches, like I was saying, he's going to get. They're using him not quite like Derrick Henry, but pretty close. Derrick Henry would get like 25 carries a game, 25 to 30 touches. Foreman's getting like 20-ish touches. So, yeah, he's a start to me. He's a really good flex, low end RB2. If you have better options, I would definitely go with it. But chances are with COVID and everything, you don't. But if you are in the semifinals, like maybe you do.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's a decent start.
Hilliard is a sit. I do not want to get anywhere near Hilliard.
Yeah, agreed.
He was a decent. If Foreman's out, I think Hilliard might be a good idea. But without Hilliard, it's kind of a mess. All right, and then finally Jeff Swaim, tight end, not interested.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's move on. Another guy that we ended up talking about in the yikes, he caught that.
I don't think he did.
Anyway, so another guy that we talked about in the waiver wire show moving to the 49ers is quarterback Jimmy G. And he's another guy going up against this Tennessee defense. It's a good matchup, but is it a good idea to play him?
Not really. There's I think worse options than Jimmy G, but to be honest, who would you rather start though, Tannehill or Garoppolo? That's
probably. Did I say that in the last show?
I think you said two last show. I think.
Oh yeah, because we didn't ask that question. I would probably start Jim.
I would too. I mean, if AJ Brown is healthy and playing, and he's not limited or anything, then maybe I will lean Tannehill. But Tannehill has not scored 20 points since week 8. Jimmy has at least done it, I think, twice since week 8. So neither one of them are great options, but Garoppolo, I think, is at least halfway decent.
Yeah. Tennessee's a good matchup too.
Oh, there you go, bud.
Please, Lord.
Yeah, no, but I think Garoppolo is decent against the Titans. I'm not saying again to start him, but he'll be all right.
Yeah. I don't mind Jimmy G. It's just it's another one of those gross matchups. All right, I'm alive.
Yeah, you're alive. You're good.
So let's move to the wide receiver position and some interesting thoughts here about some of these guys because sorry for all the pauses, guys. We were literally watching this football game. And normally I would be like, okay, we got to record the podcast. Let's put the game away, not really pay attention. But my fantasy life is on the line in the home league.
Of course. When it's your fantasy life on the line, then
you were kicked out of the playoffs weeks ago in the home league.
Yeah, but dude, I got like 5 other leagues where I'm trying to win a chip with some dough involved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, let's talk about the wide receiver position for the 49ers, who are they're pretty good. Juwan Jennings, a guy at the bottom of that list, is somebody that I wouldn't even touch with a 9-foot pole, but we throw the third wide receiver on here anyway in case of, there being a third wide receiver. So anyway, I would say not to play him. But the two guys that I think are startable in this game against Tennessee are obviously Deebo and Brandon Ayuk. And starting with Deebo, he has more rushing touchdowns than Dalvin Cook, and I had to face that reality today.
Yeah, they completely, the last few weeks with Elijah Mitchell banged up, they're literally using him as their running back.
Is he getting like that kind of workload?
He's getting like
5-6 carries.
I think in Cincy he had 10 carries.
Holy crap. I was looking at like passing numbers and I'm like, he's been bad. What the
Yeah, well, because they're not even using him as receiver. They're just
And everyone's like, oh my god, use this guy as a running back. Kind of a cheat code, to be honest with you. If you have him,
he's kind of like Cordell Patterson a little bit. But he's been. I mean, he's the wide receiver 2 on the season. So
is there a chance that this guy moves to running back?
No, because when Mitchell comes back, they're going to line him at receiver for most of it. He's going to have a couple carries because they just like to do trick plays and stuff. He'll probably have like 3 or 4, but he's going to be more of a receiver.
Dude, this is one guy. Not to jump into off-season talk already, but this is one guy that I'm really like. People are going to get so psyched up over next year, and he's just going to blow.
I don't know, dude. I've always loved Deebo.
What if Jimmy G's gone and they move to Trey Lance and Lance is just mediocre?
Yeah, I mean that would be concerned.
Quarterback.
I definitely want to see his price, but like I feel like Deebo is just a really good player.
To me, San Fran, if we're looking at this based on what Trey Lance does, do you feel like they're moving towards the same kind of offensive scheme as the Baltimore Ravens?
It could be. It could be.
If that happens, I'm really not excited.
But wouldn't that hurt more Ayuk more than Kittle? I mean, Ayuk more than Deebo?
I think it hurts everyone. But, I mean, here's why. I think there's massive regression coming for Deebo Samuel, who is currently the wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
I think he's a mid-range wide receiver 2 in most seasons, even good ones. And this year, just because of, like, literally just the rushing upside.
But see, dude, I don't know. Like, the thing that worries me is Lance, and I think also Kyle Shanahan is unpredictable. But like, I do believe in the player. Like, I think he's got a lot of with the ball in his hand in the open field. Like, he's a beast.
I'm gonna put this out here now.
Doesn't drop many passes either.
Come back to the Thursday Night Football preview show, Week 16. Deebo Samuel is a league winner.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Not just what he did earlier in the season, but what he is going to do in the next 2 weeks. If they keep giving him this rushing workload and pass catching workload, Deebo's a league winner. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, he 100% is.
Who would have thought? But obvious start against Tennessee. Good matchup. Deep green on sleeper, like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brandon Ayuk is the other guy, more of the pure receiver that they have there. Like Rick was saying, that might actually affect them a little bit more. But he is he didn't have a great week this week. He only had 2 targets total in the game. I don't believe Jimmy threw it a lot, and they had the lead.
He threw it. Garoppolo threw it 23 times, and I think half of that was Kittle and Deebo.
Yeah,
they literally half of that was Kittle and Deebo, and then running backs. So that's the problem. This is the problem with Ayuk to me. Is he's the very clear third. Like, if you not just looking at the numbers, but if you watch the games, even the games where Ayuk gets a lot of the targets, he's still clearly the third option because Deebo's used in the backfield. And like the games where Ayuk has had a lot of targets is usually when Deebo gets used in the backfield. When they're passing and all 3 guys are on the field, Garoppolo's looking for Kittle and Deebo it feels like almost every play.
Which is funny because Ayuk, like if you asked me week 1, prior to week 1, I would have said Ayuk is the number 2 guy.
Right. But
interesting.
No, to be fair, what Ayuk did last year was when Deebo was not healthy. Deebo missed most of last season. So I think Kyle's always felt that Deebo is like the guy, but he just wasn't out there. Yeah. And now this year he's been healthy the whole season. He's making Ayuk the third option. But Ayuk is playing against the Titans, and it's a good matchup. But he played against the Falcons last week.
Everyone came here. They want to know, do you start Brandon Ayuk?
I think he's a fine wide receiver too this week. I don't think he's going to have another 4-point week. So yeah, I would start Ayuke. I think Garoppolo's going to have to throw the ball more than 20 times this week. So,
okay, fair enough. All right, moving to the next player, or the next position, I should say, which is the running back position. We have Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr. Mitchell, Jeff Wilson's dead with Deebo going in there and getting snaps. Mitchell, like Rick said, has been kind of, suffering with injuries, troubles since week 14, and he was out this past Sunday. He was a DNP on Monday, so I would say watch the practice report on Tuesday. Wednesday's a travel day, as I say normally. If he is ready to go, he'll go, but I would imagine that they keep him out this week on Thursday Night Football. That would be my guess.
I would imagine so as well. I will say, though, Jeff Wilson, if Mitchell is out, he had 18 points this week and had 23 touches.
Yeah.
So I think you could plug and play Jeff Wilson if Elijah Mitchell is out. But obviously, if Elijah Mitchell is healthy and playing, he's going to be the lead back. And he would be a start. I mean, he's been getting – I think his lowest point total on the season was 6 back in week 2. When Elijah Mitchell plays, like since the bye week, he's had 16, 19, 10, 9, 25, 15. He's actually been really, really good this year because he's getting an insane amount of touches. His last 3 games he played, 27 carries, 22 carries. Like they're using him like a workhorse. So if he plays, play him. But if not, you could plug and play Jeff Wilson and expect Deebo to get some carries. And that might be good for Ayuke too, to be honest.
I just saw a AFC playoff picture chart right here, and the Ravens are not in it.
Yep.
Holy freaking crap, dude. This is great. I love this extra playoff spot. It makes everything way more interesting. But anyway, yeah, Jeff. I agree with Rick. Jeff Wilson's a good start if Mitchell is out. Obviously, if Mitchell goes, Wilson's kind of dead in the water.
Yes, he's 100% dead.
So
probably got one
that's the running back position for the 49ers in a nutshell. And then finally, George, my dude Kittle. I am surprised he has stayed as healthy as he has all year. He's missed 3 games. That's it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that he has been as healthy as he has. And currently on the season, he's the tight end 3, which is absurd that he's missed 3 games and he's the tight end 3. So obviously he's a play. He's a clear play at this point, at least for me. He is against a tougher matchup against Tennessee. That one's going to be tough for him. But I think, it's George Kittle. He can overcome it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a tough matchup, but it's George Kittle. At this point, it's kind of like what it was, I want to say in the beginning of last year when we were expecting like the big 3 was Kittle, Kelsey, and Mark Andrews.
Right.
That's kind of what it is now. Again, those 3 guys have been dynamite, especially if you compare them to the tight end position where most tight ends only get like 6-7 points a week. And then you look at Kittle and he's been getting he had a 35-point game in half PPR against the Seahawks, 27 against Cincy. And even in the other games, like 17, 13, 11, 12, like he's consistently producing. And Kelsey and Mark Andrews has been like that too the last few weeks. So he's one of the guys that you play no matter what. Absolutely no matter what.
Agreed. All right. I think that's all we got for this Thursday preview show, unless you have any more thoughts on this particular game. A lot of implications too.
I think that's
Love it. 49ers need a win
semifinals, dude.
49ers got to get a win to keep them in the playoff chase. Titans need to get a win.
I think if the 49ers win, they're pretty much in, though.
Titans win. Titans lose. 49 Colts win. Titans are not in first place in the division anymore.
Yeah, they might not even be a playoff team the way the AFC is.
I know. What are they, 9-5? Holy crap, man. That's what scares me is everyone's like, oh, the Patriots are shooing in the playoffs. I'm like, now have they choked their way out of the next 3 weeks?
No, they're not. Yep.
So anyway, but that'll do it for the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's been an interesting show. Interesting season so far. We only got 1 full week left of contact. I mean, wow, I just read a tweet that said close contact. we only have one more full week of content, but we'll see you for starts and sits tomorrow, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.